Hello, everybody. Welcome to the United Front. This is your latest Manchester United transfer news as Ollie Watkins linked to United. What does that mean for Sesko? Apparently, Newcastle interested in him. And could Garnacho be part of the deal for Ollie Watkins? Could it be a swap deal? We'll find out here. So yeah, let's get started. Obviously, Ollie Watkins obviously was on the short list with targets for Manchester United, with alongside Sesko and Jackson. But I even said this before, what I think about Ollie Watkins, I think he's a great player. One thing that has advantages towards Sesko is he's prem proven. So we all know how capable he is in the Premier League. When I go for him, look, this is the thing, because opinions change, every day. I was Sesko in my last video, and I could be Ollie Watkins. Look, I'd be happy with both, to be honest. As long as it's not Jackson, because Ollie Watkins, what can he do? Score goals, but not only that, he can create goals. And I think when you go back to last season, which was his best season, I think he was second in behind for Salah in terms of GA, which is obviously pretty impressive. But I think look, the only problem with this deal is that Villa are actually valuing him at 60 million. Now that's a problem, because you see, actually, hang on. I'm just reading this right now. Ollie Watkins. Aston Villa consider Ollie Watkins not for sale despite interest from Manchester yet. Well, I don't know, but look, I mean, he's not of interest. Now, the question is that, let's just say he's not of sale anyway. They were gonna value him at 60 million. He's worth 60 million. He's nearly 30, and he's probably had 4 or 5 good years in him, surely. And I mean, like, if United are willing to spend that money on someone that's more experienced, and you could probably say, not as hungry as he was before, then you could probably spend that money on Sesko. Now, obviously, Sesko is 70, 80 million euros. I don't know what's that in pounds, but probably around 65 million in pounds. But look, Watkins is a great player. I'd take him if he was announced today as a United player. If we were pushing for him, I'd take him as a player. The only problem is value wise, and if you're willing to go pay 60 million for someone who's prem proven and he's almost into his 30s, then why don't you go with Sesko? And I mean, this is where it is, because with Ollie Watkins, I mean, is that the type of striker Amorim wants? Because judging by when he sees Gyökeres, Sesko, Delap, Jackson, Mateta, Kolomwani, Vlahovic, all these players, like, I mean, in terms of height-wise, they're all taller than bloody Watkins. And he wants a tall centre-forward that can hold up the play, run in behind, hard-working when pressing, and a clinical finisher. And experienced as well. And this is why he wanted Gyökeres initially. Obviously, he's going to Arsenal, whatever. But he wants that type of striker. Now, obviously, Ollie Watkins is a different type of striker compared to the strikers I pulled out, because he plays on the last man. He runs the channels. He plays inside, and he's one of those strikers that really press. So, obviously puts pressure on the defense and the goalkeeper as well. So that's what I really like from his game. But I mean, if you're willing to offer 60 million for Watkins, you could be doing that for Sesko. Now, the only thing risky with Sesko is that he's not well, he's not as experienced as Watkins. So, and Watkins knows the Prem in and out more than Sesko. So, you know, you wouldn't really be taking a risk with Watkins than you would be doing with Sesko. So yeah, but I mean Watkins. I mean, look, he's a great player and everything, but I mean the value is too much, and obviously United would back down if the value was within, like, if it's unrealistic at this point. And look, this is where it goes down to obviously Garnacho obviously being part of it. Now, if they do this deal, they could put Garnacho, but the problem is that if we give up Garnacho, they at least have to put money in. Like, we shouldn't be paying to them. Like, they should be paying us in terms of swap deal. Because if you think Garnacho and Watkins is just a straight swap deal, no. Because Garnacho is more valuable than Watkins, you know, because of talent, potential, and obviously knowing what he's capable of. Now, obviously, you could say when he was wearing the Villa shirt, you could probably say it decreased it because it was like, well, he wants to move, you know. But he had a poor season that season. Now, that doesn't mean his value can't go high because he is potential to be great. And obviously, he was in a system, in a team where he wasn't in his natural position. You know, he was playing as a left-sided number 10. He wasn't actually a winger. So, you know, initially it was going to be Napoli, but he said he wanted to stay in the Premier League, and we obviously it's great, but it depends who he chooses. And obviously he wants to choose he wants to play for Chelsea, which I don't understand why, because they've got more depth than a whole army. Like, it's unreal, because where's he gonna play? I mean, you want to play for Chelsea, but where are you gonna play? I mean, think about your career and your future. I mean, Jamie Carragher said, I think it was 2 seasons ago, and this is when Chelsea was starting to sign so many players, and he said, you know what, back yourself as a lad, you know, go join a club that you're more likely to start, be the main man, and eventually, if you play well, your contract's going to go up. Going to Chelsea, where you're hardly going to play, because of, you got, look, they're looking at Simmons, you know, I don't know how many players they got. They got Madueke is gone. They got Palmer, they got Neto, they got Estavio, you know, they got, I don't know, they got so many. All I know is they got so many players where Garnacho can't, where's Garnacho going to play? I mean, that's the question. So, you know, his obsession in the Prem, look, if he went into Aston Villa, look, I know people would say, oh, he was wearing a rival shirt. Look, it made sense if you're calling a Villa a rival because of, you know, a team that's competing for the Champions League. I understand that. You know, if that's not the case, then please educate me. But, you know, I mean, look, I don't want to go back to it where he took that photo. We know it was dumb. We know what he was trying to do, and if that was not his intention, then, you know, why didn't you not just play? Why didn't you not just put a Rashford at for Manchester United? That's clearly in the store. So this is the thing as well. And you know what really pisses me off, because I did want to talk about Garnacho. It's just that when was the time to talk about it? When I see all these players, especially that are just not worth that they actually value at, like Renato Vega, who was like, I don't know, he was just basically a squad player. Chelsea are valuing him at 40 million euros. Madueke went for fucking 52 million to Arsenal. And I'm thinking to myself, no one wants to pay for Garnacho when clearly that's his value. I don't care what anyone says, he's better than Madueke. I know people are going to say, oh, you're chatting shit. But please tell me what Madueke's done that he's worth 50 million. I don't even know why Arsenal bought him. Because if you wanted to buy a winger, you could have gone with Rodrigo. I don't even know why they didn't. I'm not an Arsenal fan, so it's best not to discuss Arsenal related, because only Arsenal fans are going to talk about that. My only theory is that if Madueke went for 52 million, and I know he went to a rival, so obviously Prem, whatever, English tax, but if that's the case, then what's Garnacho? In my opinion, I think Garnacho, we should sell him 50 million minimum. But I know United, not only because we're bad at buying players, overpricing them, we're bad at selling. We sold them for the wrong price. Elanga went for 55 million. Kudus went for 50 million to Tottenham. I'm trying to think, there was another one. João Pedro went to Chelsea, 50 million. So why can't Garnacho go to Villa? And look, Villa might have trouble when it comes to financial side. Fair enough. Maybe that's why we're exploring a swap deal. But still, a swap deal, like, that's just... There's no profit. It's like, how do I explain it? It's like trading a Ferrari to buy a Nissan Micra, and you're still... But you still want the person to pay it for you. Like, it doesn't make sense. So, look, I don't know what's wrong with Garnacho. Look, at least I respect, Rashford. Look, I know he got his dream or whatever, but at least he wanted to, he got his wage cut. Very thoughtful. But look, he's very serious because he wants to have a preseason. He wants to play for a club. He might very unlikely to play for United again, and obviously World Cup's near the around the corner, so he wants to be part of that. So but when you get players like Anthony and Garnacho wanting to go to a certain club where they clearly can't afford you because of the wage you're asking and how much United value them at, it doesn't seem possible, and that's why they're still waiting, and they're not going on tour, So, and I don't know what's happening in Malacia. No one's going for him. I don't know. Look, I don't know why we're selling him. Look, but then again, we bought Diego Leon, so where do you even fit him? I want to talk about Sesko. So, Newcastle linked with him because, Isak wants to leave Newcastle, which is unexpected. Initially, I thought, if he wanted to leave, it'd go to Liverpool, but Ekitike joined there, so probably he'd stay. But apparently, he wants to move. Look, is that a time to worry? Look. Initially, we wanted Sesko, but then Ollie Watkins came through, and it's almost like we're likely to go for him. And Newcastle come in. They wanted Ekitike initially, but Liverpool got to them because they didn't know whether to keep Isak or not, and it's like maybe Sesko might be the guy, which obviously, look, Sesko, what Newcastle have advantage to us anyway. They got the budget, and they got Champions League football, which we don't have, and I think he'll be great because you kind of see how Sesko plays. I think he fits very well into that Newcastle system. So, look, I mean, is this going to be another screw up with us? We wanted Gyökeres, we lost the final. Arsenal got him initially when they wanted Sesko, and then they went with Gyökeres, and now so here we go. I mean, I could see this with Sesko again. Newcastle interested, and we don't get him. When we were actually, we can't get Gyökeres, let's go with Sesko now. And then obviously, we can't. Newcastle are interested. So, but the question is, like, we're more into Watkins than we are into Sesko. And look, maybe Watkins is the guy we'll go for. Who knows? But looking at the value, if United are offering that much money to go for Watkins, why don't you go for Sesko, where his potential, you never know, could be great, and he's 22, potential to be one of the great, one of the best strikers in Europe, and but that depends. Some people are different. Some people want an experienced striker. Some people want someone who's, he's experienced and he knows the league well in, well out. And some people want a hungry striker that's, you can have one for the future and everything. So, but that's the question. Do United go with Watkins? Do United go with Sesko? I mean, that's the question United should be asking themselves. So, this is just weird. I never wanted to bring this up, but apparently United were going for Isak, but that seems unrealistic because he's very expensive. Apparently they value him over 100 million. Oh wait, do we have that? No, we don't. We don't have enough. We couldn't even get Sesko. We can't even get Watkins. How are we gonna get Isak? Which is so unrealistic, And I don't think he'd want to join us. Now, some people, do I want to really name names? Nah. I'm pretty sure you know who it is anyway. Well, there was one person who you might be familiar with, and he said Isak is to United is very likely. I don't know about that because I respect the guy, but he does very good content, whatever. But come on, Isak to United, very likely. I mean, come on, look. I'm imagining the front three: Isak, Cunha, and Bomo. That would be sick. That'd be like, that's almost like if you were making an ultimate team, Premier League team. You bloody have them. You'd shit yourself. But we're in the real world, and this ain't Fantasyland. This is not Disneyland. We're in the real world, and we're not getting Isak. I can't see that happening. I can't. How can, if we can't get Gyökeres, if we can't get Osimhen, if we can't get any other striker who is less valued than Isak, how are we gonna go with Isak? And don't forget as well, because people are saying, oh, we shouldn't get Osimhen because he's gonna ask for high wages. How much money do you think Isak's gonna ask for anyway? He's asking for a lot of money, which is, I don't know how much he's earning. I mean, I'll just check here. Isak salary weekly. So how much is he earning? 120k. Okay, I'm shocked. But apparently he wants 300k. Now, I mean, it's almost like, if we went for Osimhen, that's what we would have asked for. But I mean, we set the wage demands anyway. We wanted it to keep it 250. But if we keep going back to people that want more money and we give them what they want, and they don't, let's just say, exceed. Not saying Isak wouldn't exceed, but let's just say it doesn't work out, and then we try and push him out, and then it's just there. So look, is Isak worth 300k? Yes, he is. I think so. But even if we were able to offer him that much money, even if we had the money in our asses to pay for 100 million, would he want to join United with no Champions League football? Because technically he'd be leaving Newcastle, that actually have Champions League football, to a team that are all over the place, that are not in the Champions League. So, that's where it's like, look, in my opinion, it's unrealistic. I don't see this happen. It's like Man United signing Isak. I don't know what to. It's like me earning $1 million per month. Very unlikely, impossible actually, because it's me. But It's like that, you know. It's like basically earning, or anyone else, you know, earning $1 million per week, or per month, whatever. It's very unrealistic and impossible. So, you know, but I mean, look. If we'd won that final, if we had the, because you know, winning the trophy, obviously gives you prize money and all, which was 100 million. Then you probably say, you know what, we could go with Isak. Why not? But the question is, we don't have Champions League football, and even if we did have Champions League football, would he have still come for us? I don't know, and that's the question, because initially he was about to go to Liverpool, but they got Ekatike. Now where does he go? That's the question. So you know what I mean, because Arsenal were on his radar. Arsenal really wanted him before Gyökeres was actually a thing for them, and obviously, you know, they didn't advance negotiations, whatever. Obviously, they have Gyökeres, so obviously that wouldn't happen. But I mean, where will he go? Will he go out of Europe? Will he go PSG? Who knows? But to Man United, you're living in Disneyland. I can't see that happening. It's just impossible. And you know what? If it does happen, yes, I prove myself wrong, prove me wrong or whatever, you know. But I can't see that happening. So yeah. Wanted to see if there was something. So yeah, about Watkins, apparently Aston Villa don't consider him for sale, and even if they did, they're gonna ask for a hell of money, because of course, for those that don't want to sell someone, and if they're willing to, they'd ask for more. So you know, but yeah, anyway, thank you guys for watching. If there's any news, let's just say breaking news, I wouldn't be live. I'd still upload a video, but pretty sure it's unlikely, because it's ever since in Bromo, it's all about strikers, but for us, but it's about who we're going for. And obviously, you know, Ollie Watkins, Sesko, you know, it's like it's tough. You don't know who to go for. And look, people might go with Sesko, people might go with with Watkins, but it's your opinions. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.